Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new, welcome. My name is Jen. Welcome to Jen Plans. So today we're doing our May reading wrap up. I read 11 books in the month of May. I say read, but I count audiobooks as well. These are the physical books I read, which were 5 of them, which means 6 of them were audiobooks. I did a lot of driving back and forth to and from work and clinic this month, so that's why there's so many audiobooks. So let's go ahead and get started with what we first got into. So the first one I read was an audiobook, so listen to, and I'll put it on the screen here, and it was Hooked. So this is part of the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. So I think that there is like 4 or 5, maybe even more books in here, but this is the first one that I picked up. So this is a kind of like dark romance, but make it Disney. So this one is based off of Peter Pan. So it is the main character who is James, who is Hook. And he is basically swooning Wendy, which is Peter's daughter, so Peter Pan's daughter. So he's trying to seduce Wendy into being his to kind of get back at Peter for all the things that he did. So it is kind of a play on some of our favorite Disney movies, but make them rated R and very spicy. So I actually kind of liked it. And something very different for me, but yeah, that is the first one. The second book that I rated them out of 5. So for Hooked, I gave it a 4-star out of 5. The next one I read was a physical copy of The House on the Cerulean Sea. I have been hearing about this book, or I've heard about this book for a very, very long time, and I thought that I would take a kind of another stab at kind of like fantasy. I wasn't really sure what I was getting into, but it follows this single man by the name of Linus Baker, and he works at the department in charge of the magical youth. He lives in a house by himself in a very quaint little town. He then gets the proposition to go to the house of, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's on the back here. It's an orphanage, but I can't remember what it's called. But basically there are 6 magical children that are there. So it kind of goes through what they are. One is like, seems to be like a bird. The other one is like, I feel like it's like an octopus. And then they talk about basically the worst one of all, which is the, like Satan, I guess you could say. Like the devil himself kind of thing. So he learns a lot about himself, falls in love with an unexpected person, kind of reveals a lot about himself. So it's a very, very cute book with kind of like I guess you could say it has a really good like lesson, let's say. Just kind of about keeping true to yourself. Love is love. You love who you love. That type of thing. So I really did enjoy this book. It was very different for me, but I really, really liked this book. Okay, I think I gave this one a 3.5 or 4. Like, it was good. It wasn't my favorite, but it was still really cute for me. Again, I'm trying to get into that world of fantasy, so things are always a little bit different when you are dealing with fantasy. But I think that one was really good and really lighthearted still. All right, so the second physical book that I picked up was My Dark Vanessa. This one is by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I had heard a lot of mixed reviews about this book. I guess the first being that it has a lot of triggers. It talks about a relationship between student, teacher, huge age gap, and then just kind of like some, I want to say like DA, but in a very like different way, I guess. More of like mental issue, kind of like mental abuse kind of thing. It was very hard for me to get through, I will say. Usually I can get through a book in a few days, but this one took me a couple of weeks to finish, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had to put in a couple of things in between this because the main character is Vanessa. The teacher relationship she has kind of goes on from I think a span of like 26 years or something like that. So it does go back and forth between present and the past. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did give it a 4 because it kind of broke my heart, but at the same time, again, it took me a long time to get through this. So the next one I read was an audiobook, and I'm probably going to get a little bit of hate for this, but it was If He Had Been With Me. I'll put that up on the screen here. I guess it is part of a series, and for me, I didn't love this book, and I know that people either love it or they hate it, but for me, it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't sit with me. I felt like it was very slow. Maybe it was because it was like hyped up. I don't know. But basically it follows the story of two best friends. They have Autumn and Finney, and it's kind of like a high school romance, and I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. I gave it a 2.5 or a 2 actually. But yeah, let me know if you liked it or not. I mean, everyone has their difference of opinion. It wasn't for me. Yeah. And the next one I read after that was another audiobook series, and this one I've actually finished the series. I finished it this month, so June I finished it. So it was the Tempt Me series. I think it's called the Wolf Hotel series by K.A. Tucker. I loved these. I know there was I gave them all, I think, like between a 4 and a 4.5 out of 5. I devoured them, and although I will say that the smuttiness was a little bit much for me, it felt like basically every other chapter had some kind of like sex scene or something like that in there. But other than that, I really enjoyed kind of the storyline of this series. It did kind of, I don't know if it makes any sense, but for me, it kind of told the story of someone, who came from hard upbringing, who made something of theirself, but then learning how to love, learning how to trust somebody, and finding somebody who makes it worth it. That's kind of how I felt with this series. So then I guess I'll talk about the other ones that I read, because I read some physical books in between, but then there is, so the Tempt Me one first, then there is Break Me, and then there's Teach Me. So those are the 3 that I read this month. And basically, it follows a billionaire who owns hotels, and he meets a employee that becomes basically his everything. And they go through some trials and kind of figuring out how to kind of, I guess, have a relationship when they come from 2 different backgrounds, and things are not always easy. But again, in between there, there's just a lot of smut. So 4.5 or 4 to 4.5 for each of those books. So I'll put the series up on the screen there again for you guys. The third physical book that I read this year was A 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I really, really enjoyed this book. So it follows the life of Clementine, who is a publicist, and her aunt, Annalie, who you hear a lot about during this book. Basically, she passes away, and she leaves the apartment that she used to live in to the main character, Clementine. What they don't know about this apartment is that apparently it holds a lot of magic. So this is kind of where I wasn't sure, because it's about a magic apartment. But essentially what happens is she moves into this apartment. She comes home one day, and there is a man sitting in her kitchen. However, everything is different. Everything looks like it's 7 years ago when her aunt was still alive, and all the decor and everything is still the same. So she kind of starts a relationship with this man, but she thinks, 7 years ago, nothing can come of it because he's not real, or he's not here. This is in the past and whatnot. Turns out in her job, he is somebody that they are, he's a sought after author. Well, to be author, he's a chef. But anyways, I'm not going to say much more, but it turns out that, love will find you if it's meant to be. So that one was really cute. I really did enjoy that one. Okay. In between there, after I read this, I kind of wanted to dip my toes back into Freida McFadden. So I read The Locked Door. This one I actually gave, I forgot to tell you, The 7-Year Slip, I gave a 5 out of 5. I loved it. I think it was really cute. Anyways, back to The Locked Door, we read by Freida McFadden. I gave this one a 3.75. If you guys followed my, I think it was February reading wrap up, I read Never Lie by her, and I did not like it at all. Was not my cup of tea. I did not enjoy it at all. But I wanted to give her kind of a second try because there's a lot of people out there that are reading her books and are loving everything she writes. So anyways, The Locked Door just kind of follows a girl who essentially, her father has a past. He was charged for a mass murder, for keeping people locked in the basement of his house when they were younger. It just kind of follows, her and her life, and she's trying, she's a surgeon now, and all of a sudden, she starts losing her patients to murder, and she becomes a suspect, and we find out a little bit about the past, and turns out who has been doing this is not at all who we thought, which is the twist I did not see in this one, and I liked it. I gave this one a 3.75, pretty solid 3.75 for me, and I just enjoyed it. I think it was really good. So I will be continuing on with some more of Frida's books in June. The two last physical books I have read, or I had read in May, were It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I'm not going to lie, I was influenced to read these two by my coworkers. So I've seen them all over. I know that there's a movie being made from this, so that is another big reason why I did read these two books. I devoured them. I gave them both a 5, I believe. Yeah, I gave both of them a 5. What a cool story. So It Ends With Us is the first one. It basically follows some characters who so Lily is the main character, and she is from a small town. She meets a man named Atlas from her childhood, and their story kind of starts when they were younger. He is homeless and kind of is squatting on the next door neighbor's house, or the vacant house next door. Anyways, they have kind of a high school romance, high school sweethearts kind of thing, and then he leaves and goes to Boston. It shows her then kind of like growing up, how she moves to Boston. She meets her her soon-to-be husband, Ryle. Everything seems like too good to be true, and then all of a sudden things change. I'm not going to kind of leave it at that, but Ryle's kind of really not who he is when we first meet him, and then lo and behold, Atlas comes back into her life, but how far, you'll have to read and find out. So this one, I devoured this up in less than 24 hours, and then moved on to It Starts With Us. I would say that if you don't want to read this, you don't really have to, but for me, it kind of gave us a backstory of, who they are, and then their story after everything. So anyways, those were the last two books that I read physical copies of, and like I said, I really, 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 really enjoyed the book. So anyways, you guys, that is my reading wrap up for the month of May. Really good month for reading for me, actually. The only downfall was the one book that I didn't really enjoy too much. Again, those audiobooks, if you are into anything kind of smutty. I know I've got some followers that are really into the smut, so I've been trying to get back into reading a little bit of that. But yeah, I still haven't found my genre. I still haven't found what I really love. There are different books that I've given a 5 that are in completely different genres, but it seems like these rom-com ones, light reading, are very good to me. This month I'm going to be kind of going into more of mystery. So let me know if you have any suggestions for like thriller mystery books. Like I said, I'm going to be reading the Housemaid series by Freida McFadden, and then I do have a couple of other books that I'm hoping to get into this month. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and follow my channel if you haven't already, or subscribe to me if you haven't already. And let me know if you have any book recommendations. I would love to know. And until next time, guys, we'll see you in our next video. Bye!